What up? This is Myron, and you are listening or checking out the Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast at Down on the Docks on the other side of the tracks. 5-star dive bar Mariners podcast. Lot to talk about. As you can see, the episode we are focusing on Julio Rodriguez's return. When exactly that's going to happen, we're getting some details. We're not exactly sure yet, but it seems like he'll be going in as a DH into the lineup. We're going to talk about that. A little bit about the bullpen. We've seen some really good, but some concerning things here in the last week or two. We're also going to talk, of course, about this Detroit series that just wrapped up in dramatic fashion. Mitch Haniger with the walk-off. Mariners salvage one game out of this 3-game set. If you checked out last episode, we said at a minimum, Mariners, we needed to. Well, didn't happen. But this was a huge win. The Mariners were looking down the barrel of a sweep by the Detroit Tigers before ESPN returns after 20 years. That's right. They are going to be in the house for Sunday Night Baseball this Sunday. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Also, Fox Sports put out a list of executive front office people that are on the hot seat, that they think are on the hot seat this year. And guess what? Our good friend Jared Apoto made that list, as well as I don't know if you've noticed how many wardrobe changes Randy Arozarena has. Well, we're going to talk about what Angie Mentang found out. Anyways, I'm doing that here live on YouTube. If you're checking this out on the podcast end, you should come and check out the YouTube. It's live. It's interactive. In fact, if you're on here and you got some questions or comments, go ahead. Whether you're on Facebook, you're on X, where else are we? YouTube, of course, and Instagram. Let me go over to Instagram. Oh, yeah, there I am. We are on Instagram. Anyways, we're going to talk about all that shit. And, of course, I'm going to be doing this with Hanno up in Edmonds. And we'll be doing that right after this.
Get ready to play hardball in the Kingdom.
Take me to the ball game. I want to see the Ants. The Mariners are playing hardball. Did it again and again and again. Did it again.
Princess Tours, the vacation company, brings you the best show in baseball when the San Diego Chicken plays hardball with the Seattle Mariners and the Baltimore Orioles tonight in the Kingdom.
Supercross this weekend in the Kingdom. The Coors Beer Supercross doubleheader. Get ready, Seattle, this Saturday night at 7:30 and Sunday afternoon at 2. The 1988 A&A Supercross Tour, Motorcycle Mania, on an incredible dirt battleground that treats man and machine the same way. With absolutely no respect. See the best. National champion Jeff Ward, former champion Ricky Johnson. Tickets at all Ticketmaster locations, including the Bond, Tower Records and Video, and participating Honda dealers. The Coors Beer Supercross.
All right, Hanno, I don't know how they're going to do it at the Kingdom, but it seems like from what we just heard here, they got the Supercross and they got the Baltimore Orioles and the San Diego Chicken in town at the Kingdom.
Yeah, good weekend then coming up.
Yeah, I still have not gotten my reply from Tower Records yet about those tickets. I keep calling that number. It's only a 7-digit number. There's no area code needed. Maybe that's my thing. Anyways, well, Hanno, we kind of flipped a coin here. We said, if they fucking drop this series, let's just wait till Sunday. And it seemed like we were going to have the night off. But the plus side is the Mariners get a win, a much needed win here in the Detroit series that, again, as you heard in the intro, what did we say? 2 at minimum. We did not hit the minimum.
No, we didn't. But throughout this series, the anger just kept getting more and more for myself. But they sure needed this win, and I'm glad they got it. What a couple games, Service mentioned that in his press conference. Game 2 could have went the other way, and this one could have went the other way. But it's the way it goes sometimes. But yeah, really good to get this. I mean, they were not looking good. I mean, they got out hit the series and hits 28 to 16. The Mariners, I thought, pitched okay starting wise. The bullpen was shaky in a couple games, but I don't know. That was just kind of my observations here for the 3-game series.
Yeah, the pitching was good enough. There was, that spot there in game 2. I believe Hernandez and what was it, both that let things get a little bit shaky. Let me go pull that up before I give you a wrong statistic. But what I'm saying is, you saw the bullpen hold it down today. Hung in there on Monday. Yesterday, even though the Mariners didn't get away with that home run by Cal Raleigh, that would have put him up, I should say, in position to win. You'd probably see Andres Munoz in at that time if that happened. It didn't happen, and then the game becomes seemingly unreachable with the 3-run lead.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, Hernandez got, I believe, the first guy out. I think he walked the next 2 or had a little single and then walked the next guy after that, something like that. But, I mean, you know how walks kill relievers, and they just couldn't recover. Backbreaker, with Cal not having a little bit extra oomph, but, man, that would have been cool. I mean, that would have been, his 3rd time this year hitting jacks in the same game from each side of the plate. But, yeah, it's tough, though. I mean, you go down this pitching roster from the bullpen, there's not too many guys I personally have that much confidence in down there right now.
No, and before I go on, I just want to correct myself. And it was a 6-2. It was a 4-run lead, and also Voth wasn't the guy that did it. It was Hernandez, who's back down on the farm. But yeah, in that situation there in the 9th inning, tight game like that, that's who you're going to right there. That serves to what you're saying right there. It's kind of right now, sometimes who you're expecting to see, you don't see. The injury to Santos and never really getting to see him really hasn't set up the bullpen how you'd imagine it. The ads of Jimmy Garcia and Chargois, thank God they did that. Could you imagine if you didn't have that? I mean, tonight you saw here in game 3, you saw Chargois and you saw Jimmy Garcia right before that. Actually, 4 outs from Garcia. Never had to go to Munoz because you were down, but you had him ready to go. So I think that's a nice feeling that they come in and they hold this game down. They come in and hold a 3-run lead, a 3-run lead the rest of the way. So that is a positive. And I think that's the first time we've really seen that. No, I think when we were down 5-0, that would be the other example. So we have seen 2 strong examples of that.
Yeah, the way Service runs his bullpen, he usually doesn't go to his guys he trusts or his high leverage guys when he's down in the game. I mean, we all know that they kind of map out or outline out kind of how they see the bullpen and the pitching staff go throughout the game and, in different situations. And it was a little bit frustrating. I know they talked about it a lot after the game and on sports radio, and even during the broadcast, Goldsmith brought it up about who to bring in at that point. There's a lot of things that go into it. There's, often guys have pitched, upcoming series, blah, 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 a lot of different things. And they went in with Hernandez, a guy they just, pulled up from, got from Texas, that was released. But it's going to be interesting to see how often they're going to do that scenario because, it's coming down to the end. I know there's only a few games left, but even if you're down 1, you want to try to keep it close, but like I mentioned, I understand all the variables that go into it, but it's going to be interesting how they change up things. But yeah, bullpen looked great in game 3, and we're going to have to count on those guys, like I mentioned. With the team only going, or the starters only going 6, maybe 7 innings, kind of laying out who I see I would go, well, I'll go backwards. Munoz 9, Garcia 8, Chargois 7, and then if you got that bridge guy, I'd probably go. Snyder's looked pretty good lately. Go with Snyder and Voth kind of there, in my opinion. And then the other three, Thornton, Sauce, and the guy brought up again. What's his name? Anyway.
Yeah, the guy that you see when you're up by 5 or down by 5.
Yeah,
Bizzardo.
Bizzardo, that's it. That's what I thought. But
he's the guy that you call the Steve Scheffler, Sonics reference.
Yeah,
Steve Scheffler of the Mariners.
Yeah, you're right. The winning, the victory cigar when you're up by a bunch, or in his case,
the mop up guy.
Yeah. You're
either mopping up the mess or you're mopping up the beer.
Yeah, exactly. So hopefully, obviously you can't pitch these guys every game. I'd like to see them try to extend the starters a little bit. It's been interesting to see these last few games. Guys have had some big innings, so they weren't able to extend them as far as they usually go. Kirby comes to mind, but for me, obviously we got the starting pitching. The hitting's a big deal. It's just when we only give up 3 runs by the starters, it's frustrating. We've seen that all season. But for me, I think really that the bullpen is going to be the key to if we win the West or coming down the stretch.
It's got to be when you can't put up runs. I mean, we're having this entire conversation, and you're seeing people squabble about it on social media, and everything gets magnetized with the bullpen late in the games, and what is the margin of error? Again, you don't really have one, and that's that's why we're having the conversation. But I do have to say here in this last game, you did see some chaos ball. You saw Luke Raley hit that ball right down the line, bouncing right off the bag. Randy Arozarena, though, what an at bat! I mean, that was an awesome hit that he had to make it first and third. I believe he changed his clothes. I don't know if you've noticed this. Lots of different batting gloves, lots of cleats. I was listening to the post game, and apparently he'll just switch shit up during the game, including his pants. So, yeah.
Must be a very superstitious player. I mean, I noticed the batting gloves and shoes because he wears really, sometimes really bright shoes. I didn't know about the pants though. He goes all out. If he's not doing well, he changes it.
Dude, and listen, he's got to have people in there changing them. Like, look, I've been in some live shows and stuff, and you have the stage hands and around, or like at an award show when the host is changing wardrobes, because you got to have somebody helping you change and do all this stuff. I would think, because the Mariners, I mean, some of their half innings are fast. Yeah. I don't know if I could put on a pair of pants and lace my cleats back up by the time we're getting back out on the field. Sometimes you're seeing 8, 9 pitch, 7 pitch innings. Yeah,
you're right. I mean, the way they've been hitting, 5 hits first game, 6 hits the second, or maybe it was 5 hits. I don't know in some order, but it was 16. But yeah, you're exactly right. To be able to go down out of the dugout and run down the clubhouse and change it up real quick. You're right. There has been some pretty quick innings this whole series.
Yeah, Miles, we got a couple of comments here. Miles with a Mitch. Yes, we'll get to Mitch. Can you believe if I said we're only going to win 2 games in the next 3 or 4 games, and Mitch Haniger is going to have both walk-offs? One was a walk it off or whatever, and the other one was a ball that maybe could have got caught, or maybe you just concede on that. Nonetheless, in those moments, 2 great at bats by a clutch veteran team leader that maybe can't do it for you all the time, game to game throughout the game, but he does come up clutch in these moments. We already know this about him, so let's talk about it. And thanks, Miles.
Yeah, Mitch, I mean, professional at bat, you're right. He had a rough freaking game. I think he hit a couple of the shortstop with a outs, and then he had that double play in his third at bat. But yeah, you see it at the end of the game in game time. He really buckles down. I mean, he gets a couple pitches to hit, and he misses them, to get 2 strikes, and then he might foul one off, but he just buckles down, and that was an excellent hit, to the right fielder. I mean, I agree with you. That ball should have been caught. But, it's nice that the baseball gods were looking upon us. They screwed us the night before with the center fielder going way up above the wall. So, yeah,
Oh,
Mitch
my
Haniger,
God.
we've seen it.
Dude, posterized Cal Raleigh. That's my dude. I would love to know what Ken Griffey Jr. thought of that timing. It reminded me of that one that not exactly like it, but just absolute perfect timing with the air. Do you remember that one that he caught against Albert Bell in the Kingdom?
Yeah. Yeah, I exactly do.
Precision. I mean, go ahead, Hanno.
I was going to say, in both those situations, the ball had a lot of air under it and hung up there, so the both center fielders were able to get there, time their jump, which made the catch a lot easier.
Yeah, Kevin Kirby's chiming in here. It says, do you think if the right fielder ever had to dive for that, looks like he might have caught it if he didn't lay out for it? Yeah, I mean, maybe if you just ran through that ball instead of going face first, or maybe the side slide, where you slide like you're sliding into a base, maybe try to catch it off your hip. Also, you might not catch it clean, but you might have more of a body, where that one, I'd have to go back and watch again, but it's almost like he leapfrogged over that ball when it went, or leapfrogged over the bounce. I have to go see it again.
I agree with Kevin. I thought about that too, if he would have went feet first and made a sliding basket style catch. Because, yeah, when he went for the ball, he brought his, glove down, and it looked like it just went under it. So, yeah, I could agree with that. For sure.
Chad the Ripper says Slide would have had it. All right.
Yeah,
it's confirmed. It's confirmed. Feet first Slide would have had that. Yeah, in the series, starting pitching was fine. They all gave you a chance to win. But I will say that trigger feeling was starting to happen this week, especially those weekday games that the Mariners have, where it's just so boring. I've been to those games there. They're boring. There's just something about the weekday games in or at T-Mobile Park that there's going to be no offense. This game is going to be over before the summer sun goes down. It's just very weird. And it was interesting. I don't know if you heard this. I was listening to your guys because I'm in town here, KJR. They were talking, or maybe it was on 710. They were talking about Cal Raleigh made a comment that the energy just didn't feel the same from the Phillies series to this series, which is interesting. I'm glad he called it out. No, didn't throw anybody under the bus, but it seemed like he was basically saying people were just getting complacent. And hey, listen, he was out there catching these games and hits home runs in this series, putting the ball in the bat. That's your team leader. I like it. He's earned the right to say something like that. And hey, I think the energy, or the team, I should say, got re-energized tonight from what we just saw here at this walk-off. And then the ninth inning all together. Because, look, you were was Haniger down to 2 strikes?
Yeah. Did
he have 2 strikes on him? Like, look, you were down to, with Polanco and him after 2 strikeouts? I believe it was. We were starting to feel oh, my God. We had 2 guys on, tying run at the plate in the 9th. No outs, and we're not going to get away with anything. And we load them up. Here we go again. I saw people talking shit online. Of course, you want to pitch around these people and get to Haniger, that kind of shit. And Haniger delivers good stuff.
Yeah, I saw that interview with Cal. It was after game 2, and he's right. I mean, they're in a playoff run right now. They're having good crowds, during the week, unlike a normal early in the season Tuesday, Thursday night.
Yeah.
So hopefully they do bring the energy, and I'm glad that he made a mention of it and called. He didn't say he was calling out guys, but that's just how it felt, and I'm sure they heard it. But yeah, what a leader he is. Unfortunately, he didn't come through right in the 9th inning, and then Turner came up and also didn't come through. And it felt like I was feeling the same way, where it was like, man, we were just there, and now it's like the probability of this now is it's not going to happen. But Mitch stayed with that at bat, and that was huge.
Yeah, and I don't want to focus too much on like having a JP Crawford back. He usually, even if he's having a bad game, even if he's in a bad stretch, he's going to give you a good at bat late in a game in these situations. So I was kind of thinking that way too. Gosh, they're going to get down to the end of the lineup where it's Haniger, Demo, and I think what's his name was in the game too, Garver at that point, right? But he gets you a single last.
Yeah, he did. Came through clutch, he's had a couple hits here lately after the whole story came out about him getting death threats. So I mean, that's his job right now, is to pinch hit for Rayleigh at times when there's a lefty on the mound like he did, and then also pinch hit today for Rojas. But what was I going to say? Oh, the JP Crawford thing. I mean, I can't wait till he gets back. I'm sick and tired of watching Demo, and I'm a Demo guy. I mean, he just looks terrible up the plate. He's getting exposed playing so much. It's
absolutely.
We need another guy in there that can put the bat on the ball and put it in play, and he just gets jammed and just doesn't look great right now.
I also want to say we are going to get to the Julio stuff here in a second, but as far as other roster moves, Dominic Canzone back on the roster, Ryan Bliss back on the roster. As Goldsmith said there on the call, Goldie said the anchor man loved it. Not the anchor man Ron Burgundy, the anchor man as far as the anchor in the relay race at the Olympics. Very on topic. So if you were confused about that, that's what it was. Not Ron Burgundy. So I do like having Ryan Bliss back up there just for the reason that you said with Demo, where you're like, you're not playing to his strengths when you have him play every single day. When he gets hot for a little bit, fine. That's a totally different scenario that we're talking about. But every day, him in the lineup, that's why you watch his average go back down to the Mendoza line at 200. And then when he's being used more sparingly and picking his moments, or Scott's picking his moments to play him, that's when you see the rash of home runs. His average spikes up about 20 points, and then it's kind of like this cycle that happens. Well, that's just what happens when you're a role player. Also with Ryan Bliss up here, maybe you can mix that up a bit. Ryan Bliss looked a little bit overwhelmed last time at the plate. Hopefully he's worked on a couple of things. He did have some good moments, but that speed and that defense is second to none, and that's going to be pretty helpful right now. And also, maybe you do bring Julio back, and not you do. Maybe you bring him back. When you bring Julio back, you might not have green light as much. So having some more speed on the bench is always good.
Yeah, some of the reporting I read about Bliss was a reason why he actually came in today, because they're a little bit concerned with Polanco's leg. You saw him kind of injure himself again in that last inning.
Absolutely.
Where they brought him in. So that's kind of the thinking, I guess, some protection for if he gets dinged up or something. And sounds like he might get a start tomorrow with the way Polanco looked after the game. So, yeah, throw him right in the fire. You're right. I agree with all those things you said. And, yeah.
My question is, does he play short? Because I know I was talking more like lineup wise, just so we don't get our streams crossed. Does he play short because I was kind of thinking Demo's also getting those second base reps, possibly too, with Polanco's possible, sidelining, or even if he's DHing. Does Bliss play shortstop?
I guess he could. He's played it before. I've always just kind of read some of the guys saying that, and hearing some reporting that he's not as good at shortstop, and he doesn't have the arm per se. So, but I mean, maybe he is going in there. I just kind of figure from what I've read that he probably won't be. But you don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, we're gonna see this weekend. Mets coming into town. Sunday night baseball coming on in here. They're all pumped up, and then they're not gonna get Julio. But Mets, Mariners, a revamped Mets as far as how they started this year. I wouldn't say like an overhaul of the team, but playing like a different team than they once were. Pete Alonso was rumored to the Mariners all season so far. Didn't happen. He's returning here where he competed in the home run derby. You're going to be headed down to the game this weekend?
Yeah, I'm going to go tomorrow night. Kind of to see Sugar back in the bullpen. I'm a big fan of him.
Forgot about him.
There. Yeah, and it's going to see kind of a young pitching matchup with the Mariners and Miller versus old Quintana. You remember him when he was with the White Sox? We've seen him a bunch. They're also facing Manaea. We've seen him a bunch when he was with Oakland. And then they're facing, I read it, now I can't forget, one of the old Yankee pitchers in Game 3. So we're very familiar with all these guys who are starting for the Mets.
Yeah, that's this weekend. Going to be excited. Possibly going to be down at Tacos and Tequila as well on Sunday for the live post-game wrap. Check out the social medias for that. But guess what? The episode's not over. I know it kind of seemed like we're winding you down, but that's just our recap of the series. One thing I got to say about Detroit, they might have my favorite road uniforms. I love the gray with the orange and the blue. I really enjoy the Detroit Tigers road uniforms, maybe more than any other American League opposing team. I like theirs, and I like the Dodgers. Those might be my two favorite road uniforms.
Nice, yeah. They do look pretty sharp, clean, and classic.
Yes. I'm not a big fan of their home uniforms, but their road ones really do pop. All right, when we get back from this quick break, we're going to talk about, what to expect when Julio returns and when he's going to return. We're going to check out what they're talking about on Seattle Times and some other interviews. So if you missed all that, we're going to talk about it right after this. You know what's so fun about Dive Bar podcast is there's also like a lot of people that come over and talk to you and tell you their stories. And there's a couple of ladies over here. I'd say they were in their 60s. They come over, they're asking what the hell we're doing and why we're in their dive bar. Says, what's this about? And I'm like, all right, it's the Mariners podcast. She goes, me and my ex-husband used to have season tickets back in the Kingdom. And I'm like, all right, that's nice. She goes, you want to hear a story? My ex-husband, caught Ken Griffey Jr.'s, and we got to fact check this. He says it was his 100th home run in Major League Baseball. Said somebody puts a sticker on his ball. The Mariners wanted the ball, and I guess they're lawyers, so they're like, oh, no. That's not how it happens. They took it down to their law offices, and they kept it in a safe. But then the death threats started coming in.
Okay, so before we get to that, where did they catch it? In right center field in the bleachers above the big blue wall?
I didn't ask because she immediately went into the death threats. Went from the death threats to, anyways, we went down there, sorted that out, and we got a picture.
So the Mariners were sending death threats?
I don't know who was sending the death threats, but she said they sorted it out.
So you got here at what time? About 6:30?
And this story was already lambasted into me by 6:32.
So they were feeling good?
Apparently. You know what, Hanno? I just had a thought about that Roland that we're using. It's kind of, I don't know, maybe not the best timing considering that there was the death threat stories to Mitch Haniger completely unrelated, but I just thought about that right right then while that was playing.
Yeah, kind of some rough timing. I hear you there.
All right. Well, I got my Julios right here. It says best served or whatever. These are from last year, so I'm not gonna eat them. But Julio Rodriguez, we're it seems like we're inching closer as long as there's no setback to him returning. As far as what I've read here, and maybe I'll share this here on the YouTube. The latest that I hear is one, when he comes back, probably going to be a DH, and two, probably, or it says unlikely, he will be here in playing in this Met series. It seems like it's going to be more than likely at some point on the road trip. Is you hearing the same thing? Obviously.
Yeah, I just basically heard that. I didn't hear a timetable, but about the whole DH thing. And to be honest with you, I'm a little concerned about it, just because high ankle sprains are, really tough to come back from. This kind of seems like the whole Santos thing with me, where they feel like a guy's ready enough to go, and they bring him up, he looks okay, and then he has a setback. I understand the offense needs Julio. I mean, he's more valuable when he's in center and hitting more than the DH. But I just hope that he doesn't then have, like you mentioned, a little setback, and where then it nags him throughout the whole year to finish up strong. But that's just kind of my thinking. But I do understand where if he can swing it, they need his bat in the lineup.
Yeah. Any injuries this time of year in any sport, when you get down to, football, injury happens sometime in November. NBA, same thing. When something happens after the All-Star break in the spring, hockey, same thing. Yeah. The players obviously try to rush back, but it does raise the concern of like even a worse injury. I still feel, as a fan, triggered from Kyle Lewis, somebody that was trying to get back in 2021, and look what happened. More setbacks and setbacks. And yes, the Santos thing where you're like, you fear you're not really over this injury. And like you said, high ankle sprains, very tricky. Let's see. We got another comment from Kevin Kirby. If the Mariners get desperate, should they bring Julio back? I mean, before we get more into that high ankle sprain, I mean, maybe you do see him in the lineup playing DH when he comes back, and it is a Kyle Lewis thing where you're just like, hit the ball and just go base to base. But if you have that killer instinct, that DNA that Julio has, it's tough to see him not try to really go for it when he's in there.
Yeah, absolutely. He's, like you mentioned, he's super competitive. Be nice to see him be able to go first to third with no problems or what have you, or score. So it's interesting for him to put a governor on his running the bases. But as far as rushing him back, I mean, I don't really know if you have to. In a way, in some sense, you're just kind of trudging along right with Houston right now, just kind of changing games back and forth. You're 4 games out of the wild card. Still a long ways to go, but I almost feel like your only chance of getting in the playoffs is through the West. But
it is.
Yeah. As far as rushing, I mean, you got to listen to him. I've just seen where he's ran in straight lines, and he's done a little bit, side to side work with the ball, catching the ball they showed on the pregame show. So, and then before that, I just heard that he was strictly doing straight line running. So, and he took BP too. That's right. So, I mean, if you can spin on that back foot, and not have any problems with him, hopefully he's good to go.
Yeah. I we might have lost a bunch of that. I don't know. We might have had a little technical difficulties here, but I hear what you're saying. Basically, talking about working with Chris Negron, going.
Yep.
We're having some internet issues. Are you? Are we live again? You there, Hanno?
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
Okay. Oh shit, I was gone. Thank you for handling all that. I was in the dark here. What's up with we got another one from Kevin Kirby. What's up with Hollander? Thought he said Julio was coming back to the home stand, but yet no timetable. LOL. Well, we kind of already talked about that. I should have pulled that up, but Kevin Kirby, Hanno's got a nickname for Justin Hollander, the technically the general manager. I still want to call him the assistant general manager. What do you like to call him?
Oh, I call him the Shadow just because I feel he is currently in Jerry DiPoto's shadow, even though he's the president, you know. But final decisions are still Jerry, so he doesn't have control yet. So I just call him the Shadow.
Speaking of Jerry, we're going to talk a little bit about him for a second here. Actually, let's stay on topic, Myron. Let's talk about a little bit more about that high ankle sprain, as you were saying, going off of the Ryan Divish article, Adam Jude article, that's titled Julio Rodriguez unlikely to return for ESPN Sunday Night Baseball. Basically, with high ankle sprains, they're notoriously challenging. It is unlikely Rodriguez will be available for the Mets game. We know about that. Blah 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 blah. There has been Rodriguez will rehab an assignment before he's activated. He's expected to DH the first handful of games. But yeah, the high ankle sprain is just something that you just kind of got to wait around with and be careful with, just like broken ribs. So it's tough to say anything. I'll put a quick break. We're going to reset and we're going to talk about this, Hanno. Fox Sports put out a list of 6 MLB front office execs who need to win, and Jerry DiPoto makes it to this list. We're going to go to a quick break, and we'll be right back with all that shit.
Rye Bread and Mustard, a Mariners podcast.
We have the one and only. We got 4-time Gold Glove winners, 3-time. Okay, we're not. Good old StreamYard screwing everything up tonight. Oh, man.
I wish I could talk about your Jerry DiPoto thing. I haven't seen it. All right, you're back. I got you. Looks like you're here. Well, we having a little difficulty with the home base there with Myron. What was your guys' thoughts? Earlier we talked about the lineup you like to see: first guy, second guy, third guy out of the pen. I went with if it's a game early in the 6th where the pitcher comes in, it's a snap move, followed by Chargois, Garcia, and Munoz. Tell us what you think. Hit us up on the text line. All right, you're back. Can you talk?
All right, I think I'm back. Am I there?
Yeah, you're
I
finally
might have to
back.
wrap.
You're
All
blurry,
right,
but you're there. Have I been drinking?
No, have you been holding it down?
Yeah, I just tried to improvise and get some questions coming in. I didn't read the Jerry
Uh,
DePoto thing, so you're the one who's got to carry the mail on that.
okay, we're back. We're back. If the Mariners miss the playoffs, do you think Scott and Jerry go or just Scott? Well, that's interesting because Fox News has this list as promised here. Thanks for those who are still sticking around after all that shit went down. And Jerry DePoto makes the list. We also got other teams on here as well. I'll just pull this up on the old YouTube or StreamYard page. Last time I tried to share something here on this show, everything crashed. When we lost our quite a bit of the audience, but for those that stuck around, you guys are troopers. As you can see, the San Diego Padres general manager, club's 20 tour, like the achievement floor, they at least have to make the NLCS, according to Fox Sports. Same thing, San Francisco Giants president of baseball operations, Bahan Zadie, is that how you say his name? Wild card berth. Seattle Mariners, there you go. President of baseball operations, Jerry DePoto. Ground floor playoff experience. As you know, DePoto has led the front office since the beginning of 2016. And in that time, the Mariners have made the postseason just once. I mean, that's what the rest of the baseball world sees. It's just once. There's, of course, a rebuild on the onset of his tenure, and Seattle came out with a playoff caliber roster and a farm system that is currently ranked 13th in the league per Fangraphs. Well, again, a lot of the guys have come up already and made the team. If those two elements are what ownership believe headline DePoto's first front office responsibilities, then it's likely he's not going anywhere. But a fan base that has yet to see its franchise make a World Series appearance is not happy about simply qualifying for the playoffs. Very true, right, Hanno?
Yeah.
It's fair to question the overall expectations for management and whether it's enough for ownership to settle on a good core group and will sell jersey. That core that will. I love this. Sorry, I'll take that over. It's whether it's enough for ownership to settle for a good core group that will sell jerseys and tickets. Woo! The Mariners are trending again towards a wild card berth last season before fizzling out in September, and they're back in a similar position, vying for the AL West division alongside the Astros. We all know the moves that they made. The bottom line for DePoto is to avoid being on the hot seat is simply to make the playoffs. I think that's true. They make the playoffs. I think there's no question he's still there, pending if they do make the playoffs and what kind of decisions a manager makes in the playoffs. Then I think Scott, that's a conversation with Scott. But there is this thing of this is what they were only given to play with. So that's where I'm being fair to Scott and Jerry. But yeah, since 2016, any other organization, you're there for almost a decade. Yeah, I'm sure you'd see some changes.
Yeah, I mean, that's my feeling. You're exactly right. Any other freaking organization, you've had this little success in this much time, see you later. But, I mean, I honestly think if they didn't make the playoffs this year, there's still a chance that he's back. I feel like John Stanton is really happy with what Jerry has done. Kind of followed directions, kept him within the constraints of the what's the word I'm looking for the payroll, excuse me. um,
Hmm.
and done a good job, and even at the deadline, went out and got some guys, didn't really raise the payroll too much, and they're making money hand over fist with these crowds. So, I mean, I'm just not sure, even though Stanton has preached that he's all about winning, I'm just not really sure I believe him, and how deep he wants to win. So, I mean, it'd be hard to have another executive come in and just follow the lead of Stanton so much with so little what they give him, but so much profit with what they make. But on the other hand, maybe he has a change of thought, and said, uh, that we gave him opportunities to improve the club, and it's been long enough. But I just, for some reason, feel like there's a good partnership between him and Dipoto, the ownership and Dipoto.
Yeah, I think if you're anywhere else, maybe it's might have already changed, or yeah, that would be,
Absolutely.
or what they're saying in this article of going, this would be reasonable. But yes, the American League West is the only way I think that the Mariners are going to make the playoffs. I think you only get one team out of the West this year, which is going to be a huge change. But I had my sights set on, can you catch Cleveland or catch somebody from the East? I don't think so with the injuries that the Mariners have. And listen, a lot of the softies, you thought we've played a lot of those games and haven't fared too well or been around, or I'd have to go look at the numbers right now. But I mean, you didn't take care of business with Anaheim, and you didn't take care of business here with Detroit. And we could go back to live back in July, but we've moved on. But the Mariners pitching staff is deep enough. If you're playing these games at T-Mobile Park in the first round, I think you'll be all right. But they got to get there.
Yeah, they don't have any room for error, in any game. They can't take anybody light. They need to come out and play good, solid baseball. And if they don't, even with the good pitching, we've seen it all year, and get clutch hits and stuff, they're just not going to win games. And if they do, it's going to be a coin flip to see if the bullpen can hold it or not. And they were so good early on with these one-run games. It's tough to play those all year and come out, on the good side all the time.
Agreed. Well, we're running out of time here, and StreamYard, it doesn't seem like it's the internet, but the StreamYard page, at least on the producer's end, is all kinds of fucked up. They will be getting a thumbs down. We got another question here. Does Scott even know how to manage pitching in the playoffs? So, well, he's gonna have a chance to redeem himself if they get there. I'll say that. That'll be a storyline when they get there, especially with the deep staff that you have. But we got to get there before we can really get into that conversation. But Hanno, you got anything to say to that?
Yeah, it will be interesting because in the playoffs, he'll probably have the opportunity to pull Miller and Wu out from the bullpen in certain situations too. So that brings a whole new dynamic of when to put those guys in. Like he has done before in the playoffs with Robbie Ray. So, and he's shown this
George
year
Kirby.
as well as him. I mean, he's shown where there's a lot of disappointment in his decision making with just the bullpen right now. So it's hard to say what's late game manager, bullpen management.
Yeah, Brandon says, "What's worse, late game?" Wait, what's Brandon? Brendan. Sorry, Brendan says, "What's worse, Scott's late game lineup managing or his bullpen management?"
I mean, as far as his lineup managing, all it comes down to, if there's a righty on the mound, he's going with a lefty bat, and vice versa.
Seth chimes in here. Crazy game. Didn't think they had it. Mitch is officially a M's legend.
Gotta be if you have the most walk-offs in Mariner history.
Sorry, my internet. You there, Hanno?
Yep.
Legend to me is a word that gets thrown around a little bit. Thanks, Seth, for the question or the comment. I think he's a great Mariner. I think he's kind of like a Kyle Seager-esque. I mean, Kyle Seager's actually got some really good Mariner numbers, believe it or not. But I guess Kyle Seager could be a legend. But I do think he's a Mariner at heart. I think when I think of who exemplifies the Mariner, I think Mitch Haniger has had a really tough go of it. He's got through some obstacles, fight hard till the end, does the little things. Definitely sets that tone of the hard work, and everybody knows that and says that about him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seth also says better than Ty France hit by pitch record. Okay. Is that it's just doesn't it suck that they let him pass Edgar and then they traded him like a week later? You're like, damn it.
That's a record that Edgar has that, I mean, I could give a shit if he has it or not. He has a lot more actually positive, records.
He's a Hall of Famer. An MLB Hall of Famer.
Yeah, exactly.
Considered maybe arguably the best DH of all time. Definitely in that era, him and Big Papi. That's pretty much the best two that have ever done it at the DH. And one last thing I want to say, DH might be a really interesting spot for Julio because some players, when they have to start DHing and they need to be in the field, I mean, Julio's had to sit on the sidelines for a couple of weeks, be like 3 weeks at the point. I think he'll be just happy at least being able to contribute to the team. So I think DH is a great spot for him. Oh, we got another one. Gosh, I'm trying to get out of here. Let's see. Brendan, do you think the human element is leaving the game, especially for managers and making in-game decisions before the game? Divish reported that Scott says he's not putting Munoz in behind.
When the M's are behind, he's saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, you've talked about it before in past years, Myron, how you're such a big fan of like Dusty Baker, where he doesn't always follow the numbers or everything. He goes off a feel and
Bruce Bochy.
Yeah, those kind of players. I mean, that's definitely gone away from the game like it used to be, especially when we were growing up, starting to watch MLB baseball. It's changed so much where everything is written out and outlined.
Yeah, I mean, the other night you could argue one way or the other. The Mitch Garver substitution for Luke Raley. You look at the numbers. Luke Raley does not hit left-handed pitching at all. But his not hitting left-handed pitching is higher than Garver's regular batting average. But Garver's hitting left-handed pitching batting average is better. So you're either going by the numbers right there, or you're going by the gut of like, hey, this is a big moment for this guy. Maybe he steps up. Maybe this is what gets him going. So that one was a by the numbers one. But also Luke Raley, I believe, had a home run earlier in that game. Has been swinging the bat better this week. Do you just keep him in there and just go, fuck it, let's roll the dice. I think he can handle this lefty. So that was like a situation right there where you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. It's just like going on fourth down in football, right? Yeah, it's like you're only going to remember if it works out, it's not a big deal. If it doesn't work out, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, for me, I think it just depends on the left-hander, too, that you're facing for Raley. But, yeah, he has been hot, hitting home runs in back-to-back games.
Brendan says, thanks for the answers, guys. Joined late. Yeah, sorry. You missed all the technical difficulties there. All right. That's it. We're getting out of here.
Are we landing the
subscribing.
plane?
If you're not subscribed, well, we got another one. One more. Here we go. What's it say? You can read that, Hannah.
Numbers don't necessarily mean anything, especially in garbage days. Yeah, that's true. He's just saying that numbers really don't mean anything when Garver's just kind of a head case at the plate.
I think he's had a better week this week. I think in the positive direction. Let's hope. And oh, we got another for last question. JK, have a good night. Thanks for the awesome content. That's from Abstractal. That's quite the name. Abstractal. All right, guys. Swear to God. I swear. Unless another 2 or 3 pop up that seem juicy, we're out of here. I didn't check the Instagram. I didn't check the I never checked the X. Big deal. Right? We're just, I guess we're giving YouTube a little bit of preference here. Anyways, thanks again. Liking, subscribing. If you're not subscribed, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Subscribe to this shit. If you want the notifications to know when we're dropping stuff, you can do that. If you just want to be helpful and just want to subscribe, you don't want the notifications, there's all kinds of option. It's BK, have it your way, you know, right here on the Rye Bread and Mustard a Mariners podcast. Also, yeah, if you're watching this and you're like, damn, look at that shirt. Oh yeah, someone said, Brenda says, sub to this shit. Exactly, sub to this shit. I'm gonna just keep that one up. I like that one. That's the last question or comment we're putting up here. Yeah, subscribe to that. Also, you can also go to the Buzz Sprout page if you want to help support the show. A lot of our longtime listeners know that we were at Odyssey working for Odyssey. How do you spell the merch sites? Okay. Find at simply.cora. That's at simply.cora. She'll take care of you. You check. Oh, Cora. Yes, it's Cora. You can find her on Etsy too, I believe. Also, go check out In the Clutch. Put in the code Nasty Boys. Get yourself all hooked up. They got some cool new shit. They got some Randy Rosarena shit. They I don't think they have any I'm not going to tell you what they don't have. They have all kinds of stuff. They also have the Hot Dogs for Heaven shirt. CJ, one of our hosts on here, has got the Hot Dogs for Heaven shirt. You might have seen it. Go check that out. Again, promo code Nasty Boys. All right, that's it. With this being said, Hanno, I swear we're done. You know what time it is. Charge.